Okay, all right. Welcome to our first Torah class, midweek Torah class. We are going to be going through the Torah portion, actually the first half of each Torah portion. I'll talk about on our midweek Torah class, and then on Shabbat it'll be the same Torah class, but we'll talk about, the same Torah portion. We'll talk about the second half. The Torah portion, from a traditional standpoint, was broken up into 7 parts. And so that fact that it's Wednesday, we'll look at parts of 1, 2, 3, 4 of the the 4 parts of the portion for the week. So this week, hold on one second, as soon as I do some things over here. Okay, this week we're going to be looking at the Torah portion, which is Terumah. Oh, also wanted to say for our midweek Torah class, I wanted to kind of go a more traditional route, looking at some of the various commentaries in the trying to provoke different thoughts. We are, of course, the house of study, and so when we get into midrashing the scriptures, searching, investigating, we want to be able to look into things from a different perspective. All right. So this week's portion is Terumah. Let me go ahead and add that to the thing there, which is Exodus 25. The whole portion is Exodus 25, 1 through 27, 17. We'll be inside of 25, 1 up through 26, 14. I should have wrote that on there. 26, 30. So from 25, Exodus 25, verse 1 through 26, verse 30. We're not going to read through all of it. We're going to kind of look at some of the highlights. We'll read the beginning. I have here, for those in person, I have, we're looking at the Septuagint. I think probably a similar. You think the JPS is close to what they got in the Septuagint? I'll use the JPS for the read along. But I need for everyone here to look at their textbooks. We're looking at Exodus 25. We'll read, I want to read probably just the first 9 verses. Let me pull up a version here. And hello to all of you people that are here. If you are here, go ahead and like the video. Make sure you subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and share it with your buddies so that they can know that we over here about to look up in some of these scripts for a little while, about an hour or so. Let me go ahead real fast and put up a version that's complementary to what we'll be looking at over here in the classroom. Oh, not that one. Oh, it should be. This should be pretty. That should be pretty close, huh? Hold on. Oh yeah, that's almost verbatim. All right, let us go ahead and read. Let's see, read from 25, verse 1 to verse 9. Go read that, Hiskey, for us. You know what? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you don't have your hit test.
Elohim spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they take for me an offering. Of every man whose heart maketh him willingly shall they take my offering. And this is the offering which ye shall take of me: gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple, and fine linen, and goat's hair, and ram's skin dyed red, and seal skin, and acacia wood. Oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense. Onyx stones, and stones to be set for the ephod and for the breastplate. And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them, according to all that I show thee, the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of the ark, the most important part in the whole sanctuary, the tabernacle of the.
Hold on. What in the? You see, you gotta.
Oh, I've navigated through one of these before. And even so shall he make it. And they shall.
Okay, that's good. Verse 9. All right, very good. Okay, all right. So I want to first of all go over to, let's go to verse number 2. Verse number 2. And look at, let's see here, where it says in the King James, speak unto the children of Israel that they bring me an offering, which is terumah. Terumah. Okay, so this is the name of the Torah portion, which is translated as an offering. Terumah is, when we look here, it is a present. You see, it's a present as offered up. Something that's offered up, especially in sacrifice. So if anybody's here that was at our Strong's Concordance class, we see that this word here, terumah, literally means a present. A present. If we notice in verse 2 here that it says, make an offering of every man whose heart maketh him willing, you shall take my offering. So this is kind of a interesting thing because, these the following verses here is where we see Moshe is getting the instructions for the tabernacle. He's getting the instructions for the tabernacle, all of the various parts of it. But in order to make the tabernacle, he has to use these various materials, and the materials that he is going to be using are all from the offerings that the people give. It's interesting that when you look at this here, that Moses didn't say, I'll need 500 pounds of gold and 14 shekels worth of silver, 2,500 ounces of brass. He just said, bring me some gold, bring me some silver, bring me some brass, and bring me the amount of all of those things that your heart leads you to bring. And so it's interesting when we look at this, as we look at this, it's hard to kind of visualize, I think, when you look at these different things that they'll talk about. We'll look at some of it. It's hard to kind of visualize some of this stuff when we see kind of the descriptions of it. But when you look at it, it's interesting that there wasn't any kind of specifications as to how much of these things were going to be given. And so it was dependent on Israel to freely give this offering, this gift, right? Okay, so one of the things that I thought was interesting, I guess I always kind of think about this when I look at this, is in verse 5. We go down to verse 5 here. Let's see here. We go down to verse 5. Verse 5. Read verse 5 right there.
It says, and ram skins dyed red, and seal skins, angel.
Okay, so this thing here, seal skins. Now, King James calls these things badgers. This says badger skins, which is interesting, because the Pentateuch, the book that we have as our textbook, says seal skins, which are interesting. A badger, does a badger even have the same type of a skin that a seal would have? Like seal, hold on, is the seal the thing? Do we got two tusks that stick down? What was some things on the Animal Planet when they didn't have good depth perception and they was jumping off the cliff and dying? Was those seals? Okay, they had them tusks. No, somebody Google it. I don't. Okay, so no, but what I'm saying is that a seal it seems like they do have like fur, but it all. I'm not. Wait a second. Why'd you say it breathes air?
Well, I mean, like.
Is that one of the criteria for being a mammal? That's interesting. I think that there is fur on a seal, but I also think it has like kind of a insulating kind of skin though as well. But what I would say is whatever kind of skin is on a seal, I'm pretty sure that's not the same kind of skin that's on a badger. I'm pretty sure like if I seen a badger, I might mistake it for like a rabid groundhog.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of seals and I see fur.
I know, but it's not the same kind of a fur that's on.
I'm afraid of looking at that. And that's.
A badger probably looks like a little dog. It probably looks like a Wolverine. Badgers are mean. If you ever see a badger in the wild, shoot it. Okay, so I'm talking about this for a couple of reasons. For one, it's interesting that when you look at, we're talking about the tabernacle. We're talking about the most holy place. And this most holy place, if we're talking about badgers, do they have a split hoof? Badgers? Badgers don't have a split hoof. Do they chew the cud? Okay. What about seals? Seals, do they have a split hoof? Do they chew the cud? Okay. And so it's interesting that in the tabernacle, the things that the Most High is having for Abraham to bring is this thing that is not necessarily a clean animal, but that I think begs the question. It may be unclean, but it's unclean because I'm not supposed to eat it. But does that mean I'm not supposed to deal with it at all? I know that as far as the pig is concerned, there's scripture that talks about not even, the carcass of a pig is unclean. So I wouldn't want to just have like a pig's carcass, even though I'm not eating it. The carcass is unclean, right? Stop making that whimpering sound. But other things that don't talk about in that way. It don't talk about these other things that you're not supposed to eat. It don't talk about their carcasses as being something that's unclean, even though it is unclean. And so I think for that reason, I think we're able to have an understanding as to why it would be okay to have this unclean animal be part of the sanctuary. The Pentateuch, they actually have this thing as a takash, possibly a species of sea animal common in the Red Sea This is interesting. Legend explains it as a unique animal which existed only in the time of Moses. It only
They made up,
what?
it only existed in that time.
I don't know why you're saying he made it up. Maybe it just is.
I mean,
What?
Like a translation issue.
Right. Well, this is a situation where there isn't really there isn't a translation for it, and so just like kind of in the strong in the scriptures version, whenever it gets to Nakash, it don't translate it. It just leaves it as Nakash instead of like saying serpent. These, when you look here, even when you look at like the Chumash with Rashi's commentary, he talks about this Takash and what did I say? Because I found this is interesting. I looked at this here in my dictionary because there's another thing that they called. Oh, you know what? I think they did actually call it a seal skin in that etymological dictionary. They call it that also. And so I think I can understand the practical purpose for it because it's a tent, it's outside.
this is on outside,
Um,
outer layer.
well, we didn't look at the we didn't get to that part yet, but it is like there's multiple layers. Like, oh, you know what? I wish there was a way that I could show this on here.
You might have to bring it on.
Oh yeah. But there's definitely multiple layers. Oh, okay. So the outside layer is the linen. The outside layer is the linen, right? And then next is the goat hairs layer. And then there's a ram skin dyed red layer. And then the badger skins last. So they have all of the kind of other things on top, and then at the very base of that is what I would think would be the most water resistant.
So in my mind, I don't know where they got the fuel from. Over there, in that area,
They might have seals in
in the Levant.
the Red Sea,
Maybe it was like
Well,
different
so
species
we
of
might see.
huh? I have no idea. I don't know where they found it at. Like don't know. Don't know where it was at. No one knows. No one even knows what the animal is. It could have been a desert seal. No one knows. No one knows what it was. It's a mystery animal. No one knows what a takash is.
Seals are found along most coasts in cold water. The majority.
Oh, they're in cold waters?
Yeah, but the majority of them live in the Arctic and Antarctic water.
Oh my goodness. So the point here is that it's not a seal or a badger. It's not a seal or a badger.
Reminds me of the vegetarians.
But what it is this unknown animal, but it's not necessarily what we would think of as a clean animal. That's the only thing that I was thinking about in regards to that. Okay, if we drop down, another thing I wanted to take notice of is verse verses 8 and 9. Read verses 8 and 9 again.
It says, "And let them make me a sanctuary, and I may dwell among them, according to all that I showed thee, the pattern of the tabernacle, the pattern of all the furniture thereof. Even so shall you make it."
Okay, very good. So this tabernacle is a place that the Most High is going to dwell. It's a place that he's going to dwell. And so when we think about the tabernacle, when we think about all of the kind of spiritual significances that go along with the tabernacle itself, especially dealing with its makeup in terms of the fact that you have, we don't see this in this portion. This is basically just getting the, I'm saying ingredients for the furniture of the tabernacle and also the tabernacle itself. But later on, we find out how the camp is set up. You have Israel, all around, and you have in the center of Israel the tabernacle, right? In the center. And then in the tabernacle, the further in you go, the more holy or set apart it is. So the most holiest part of the tabernacle, the place where the presence of the Most High actually dwells, is in the center of it, where he dwells. What's this word here? Dwell. That he may dwell. Oh, this is look at this. It's a primitive root, apparently akin by transmutation. What in the world? Transmutation. So it's connected to this 7901, but the word means, let's see, through the idea of lodging. It's the idea of lodging, compare to reside. So it's something similar to residing, or permanently staying, abiding, continuing, dwelling, habitation, all of these things, right? And so when you think about lodging, you're staying somewhere, right? For extended periods of time. And so this is what the Most High is doing with his people. He's dwelling in the midst of these people. So he's having for them to create this place according to this pattern. We'll talk about the pattern, according to this pattern that he has put forth.
And then the Pentateuch, it says that the verb is the one from which Shekinah, no, it's Shekinah, the divine presence.
Yeah. Yes.
Divine presence.
Yeah. So the word for dwell is the root for this word. That's basically a rabbinic term.
It's not actually found in-
Yeah, it's not in the Bible, but it's something that is kind of
colloquial.
yeah. Okay, so this place that the Most High is having for the people to create, this place of dwelling, he said, is according to the pattern. It's according to the pattern. It's according to the tabnit. The tabnit. The tabnit. Tabnit. The model. From this word here, bana, to build. It's so the root of tabnit is bana. If we look at tabnit, we can see the bait and the noon in the center there. So this is a word here that has a prefix and a suffix. But the word here, tabnit, is the structure, by implication, the model. And so when we think about a model, it's something that is, right? If I'm a model citizen, I'm the type of citizen that you look at in order to, if you wanted to be a citizen, you would look at me, right? If you wanted to figure out how to do a particular thing, you would look at a model of it. And so when we think about this pattern of this structure that the Most High has given, it's interesting when we look at Yeshua, for instance, in the book of Hebrews, where, if you actually look at Hebrews and study it, and you understand that it spiritualizes Hebrews, the book of Hebrews does, the Day of Atonement. You're able to get a real Hebraic understanding of the Day of Atonement and what the priests did, what Messiah does as the high priest. And it talks about the fact that Yeshua goes to the tabernacle not made by hands to do the thing that the priests did on the Day of Atonement. And so if Yeshua is going to the tabernacle that was not made by hands, I guess he's going to the model. I guess he's going to the tabnit. So the tabernacle, I mean, when you think about the Torah is the character of the Most High humanized. And so when we think about the way that the Most High brings himself into time and space, how he brings himself into earth, this is the way that he does it. So not to say that there's a place in the heavenlies exactly like, but in some way, this thing that we see here is in some way patterned after the things that we see in the most. I mean, when you think about places like in Ezekiel, or when you think about places in Revelation where it talks about the throne room and the angels and the wings and all of that. We don't want to. Let's go forward a little bit because we want to talk about the cherub. I want to talk about. We read up to 9. Read verse 10 and 11.
It says, 10 and 11, and they shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof.
Hold on, let's just say real quick. First of all, we got all of the ingredients listed first. You got all the ingredients, and then the first thing that is being created is the ark. So it starts all the way in the inside, and then it'll work its way out. But go ahead.
And now 11, and thou shalt overlaid within and without shalt thou overlay it. Shall make on it a crown of gold round about.
Okay, very good. So the ark is made with wood and it's overlaid with gold. Now, when you think about wood, wood is something that, you know, it gets old and decrepit and dies. Wood does, unless it's petrified. Like we saw that petrified tree. The tree actually turned into stone. Actually, it was petrified. But unless something like that happens, wood is something that, if it's kept in a particular state, it could be very strong. But when weather and, you know, moisture and all types of elements get to it, it becomes weak, right? And so I think, and then when you think about gold, it's this precious metal. It's very precious and, you know, expensive and all of that, but it's not a sturdy thing. The gold is, it's soft. You know, when you have pure gold, it's really soft. And so you have, I don't know if with this tabernacle thing is trying to be made beautiful and sturdy. Kind of want to think that. I guess if you think about it from kind of a spiritual perspective, the ark of the covenant is kind of this mixture of things that are, I mean, if it's a tree, right? It's, you don't get more earthly than a tree. And then when you think about gold, you know, gold, of course, is earthly too, but it's kind of I can't think of a describing adjectives right now to describe what gold is, but it's just fancy. I guess that's the best I can come up with. And so, but I guess it kind of has kind of divine kind of thing, you know. If you're like if you think about like what Solomon did with the temple and gold, like it's real like prestigious gold is, right? And so this thing, it had to be gold. It also had to be sturdy. But when we think about the tabernacle, this place where the Most High dwells as the place that He is dwelling, I think it's interesting that we have kind of this mixture of, you know, the wood, this thing that kind of, it fades, it's kind of it could be strong in its youth, but when it gets old, it dries up and it dies. But gold kind of has like a preserving quality to it, right? And so you have this mixture of the wood, this acacia wood, this very strong, sturdy wood, this thing that potentially can, you know, become weak and fade and crack and diminish, and this, you know, gold that is this thing that preserves. And so when we think about what the presence of the Most High actually does for us, as you know, we are the temple of Elohim, and so we too are kind of like this wood, right? And but we're infused with this preservative that causes us to, remain strong and stay sturdy. So it's interesting when we look at the parts of the tabernacle, especially here the ark, which is this wood overlaid with gold.
And it's not, I think it's interesting that it doesn't just matter what it looks like on the outside. What it looks like on the inside,
What you mean?
because it's within and without those related.
Are you talking about the box? You mean? Like how they didn't just put a layer of gold on the outside of the box. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think if they did that, it would probably it's probably more strong and more preserved because it's all the way like just dipped in it. Yeah, instead of just having on the outside. Okay, so that's 10 and 11. So that's the box. And then you have drop down to read 15, 16, and 17.
15. The stage shall be in the ring part, they shall not be taken from it. And thou shalt
15. So the box has rings on the sides, and then the staves, which are wood and overlaid with gold, go through the box. And then whenever you carry the box, you carry it with the staves. And then 16.
And thou shalt put into the ark the testimony which I shall give thee.
Okay, so in the box, the commandments go in the box. So you take the commandments and you put those in the box. Right? So you put into the ark the testimony which I shall give you. Put that in the box. And then 17.
And thou shalt make an ark covered of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half.
Okay, very good. So this version here says ark cover, which is interesting. The King James is going to say mercy seat, which is caporet. Let's see here. Mercy seat, caporet, which, let's see here, it's from kafar, which is to cover, which is a lid, right? So the mercy seat, the lid of the box, is a word which means to cover. It's a word that helps us to understand the idea of atonement. It's interesting that the lid, that the covering, the mercy seat, first of all, is, has a connection to the idea of atonement, to cover, to appease or placate. And so when we think about the Day of Atonement, we think about the Day of Atonement when the high priest goes into the Holy of Holies, when he takes that blood into the Holies of Holies, he takes that blood and he sprinkles it onto the place that is called atonement, right? It's called the covering place, right? So he takes, right? It's interesting that, that is, that's what happens. But also the lid, the ark cover is pure gold, right? It's pure gold. It's not wood overlaid with gold. It's pure gold, and it is a beaten work. Did you read 18? No, you read 17. Read 18.
And thou shalt make 2 cherubim of gold, of beaten work shalt thou make them at the 2 ends of the ark cover.
Okay, so they have these cherubim, right? And so it's interesting when we look at this here word here. Truthfully, this thing's kind of like it's kind of like the seal skin cherubim. It's kind of like the takash, the carrots. It's interesting when you think about these funny little baby angel things that people make. Even if you look at this tabernacle book, I don't think they
Or even children.
don't. This looks like there's a regular person. You can't see because of the wings. I have this. I don't know where this thing came from actually. I don't know where I get all this stuff from.
We ordered.
But we have this tabernacle. Well, it's a pretty good. I like it because it's like you're able to visualize some of this stuff. When they talk about this stuff, when I see it, it's like I can't, especially when it talks about the menorah. I don't know what that is. I can't visualize it from reading it when I read it. But when you look at this, and you have this picture, I was bringing that up because in the picture, I don't know that this is what this is. Because when you look at because it don't really tell you here, it don't tell you in here. It assumes you know what a cherub is. There's 2 cherubim of gold that are beaten, put on there, and I guess it assumes at this point you know what that is. You know what a cherubim is. I don't gotta say what it is.
It doesn't get translated either. Well, this one.
Let's. I know. Let's look at this. I wanted to look at this because I just want to say it's not a baby. Oh, King James don't translate it either, right? Carub. Uncertain derivation. That means they don't know where it came from. Right? When you see that uncertain derivation, they don't know what that is. Oh, look, Strong sees he's going on. He jumps out the window at this one here, imaginary figure, right? Cherub, angelic being, as the guardians of Eden. And so the cherubim are the guardians of Eden. Whenever Adam and Hava get booted out of the garden, whenever they get moved out of the garden or the garden gets taken away, I don't know what happens. Whenever that happens, it's made so that they can't come back and is guarded by cherubim. So they're guardians, right? They also talk about the fact that they're flanking Elohim's throne. We see in the scriptures, it talks about them being by the throne of Elohim. I want if we look at let's see here. If we go to let's go over here. Let's see what this is here. Let me see this. Oh, it's covering up my it's covering up my thing. Oh, here we go. I want to go to Ezekiel. Let's see here. Cherubim above spoke, stood, mounted, threshold, wings, heard, stretched forth. Okay. So Ezekiel 10. That's. Oh, okay. Yeah. So read Ezekiel 10:8. Start reading at verse 8.
And there appeared in the cherubim the form of a man's hand under their wings. And I looked, and behold, 4 wheels beside the cherubim.
Okay, so Ezekiel is describing what these cherubim look like. Go ahead.
One wheel beside one cherub, and another wheel beside another cherub. And the appearance of the wheels was as the color of a stone. And as for their appearance, they 4 had one likeness, as if a wheel had been within a wheel.
Keep on.
When they went toward their 4 sides. They turned not as they went, but whither the head looked, they followed it. They turned not as they went. And their whole body, and their backs, and their wings, and the wheels were full of eyes round about, even the wheels that they 4 had. As for the wheels, they were called in my hearing the wheel work. And every one had 4 faces. The first face was the face of the cherub, and the second the face of a man, the third the face of a lion, and the fourth the face of an eagle. And the cherubim mounted up. This is the living creature that I saw about the river Kebar.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And 16 too.
And when the cherubim went, the wheels went beside them. And when the cherubim lifted up their wings to mount up from the earth, the same wheels also turned not from beside.
Okay, now when you read all that, I can't visualize this. I can't visualize. You got the cherubim, and then it lifts up its wings, and then there's like these eye wheels underneath the wings, or hands of a man and a face, and it's just.
If you ever look at a picture of like all that picture, like you Google like what they biblically look like, it's the scariest thing I've ever seen.
I seen one of them pictures when they tried to sit up there, and I'm just saying, like these cherubim. I like the fact that on the ark cover, you don't even got to get into all that because everything's covered up with the wings anyway. So all you see is the wings covering up the body, whatever the body looked like. The body, I'm sure, looks it's just like something I've never seen. But I thought that was interesting. When we see what's on top of that, because it's like unto the place where the Most High dwells. And again, this is the place where he's going to dwell. So he kind of gives us this thing that's similar to where it is that he dwells in the heavenlies. And so we get like a little glimpse into the heavenlies on the ark cover. So it is made of pure gold, And again, it has these two cherubim that's made when it says that it's made uh, of beaten work, right? They just take a big lump of the gold and shape it. It's not like you like patching things together, or it's not like uh, molded or whatever. It's just a beaten work. So they carve these cherubim out of a single piece of gold. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so let us. I want to go forward. I want to go forward. In this Torah portion, also talks about the table of showbread, which is also another piece that is it's made out of wood and overlaid with gold. But when we get over to the menorah, which is also part of these pieces of furniture that are being created here. There we go. Let's go over to, let's see here, 25, 30, 31.
31.
Let's see here. Yeah, let's just read 31 here.
And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold, of beaten work shall the candlestick be made, even its base, and its shadows, its cups, its knots, and its flowers shall be of one piece with it.
Okay, very good. So, read some more. Read some more.
And there shall be 6 branches going out of the sides thereof, 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side thereof, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side.
Okay, so this is what is talking about the menorah. If we look at this word candlestick, it is menorah. Menorah. This candlestick, this menorah, is interesting that chandelier is here, right? Because it's literally like a holder of light, right? It's a holder of light. If we look at this root here, candlestick, here is the feminine version of this word, which means yoke, right? Manure, which means yoke. A yoke is something that holds something, it holds, right? And so this candlestick holds something, all right? It holds these light, this light, right? These little bowls, these little cups that are filled with oil that have wicks that burn. And so the menorah actually there's no wood there, it's all gold. And so it's interesting when you think about the menorah, where it's pure gold, it's of beaten work, just like how the art cover was, and it is the place that holds the light. Inside of this tent that doesn't have any windows, it's a dark place, right? inside of the holy place. It's not the most holy place. It's inside of the holy place. But there's no light in there, right? And so if you was to be in there, the only light that there would be there would be the light of the menorah. And so it's interesting that if we were to think about, again, kind of the spiritual significance of the menorah as being the light holder, this place that is the originator of the light. It's interesting when you look at it that, again, it's this thing, there's no thing on it that can rot, right? Even though the wood is covered with gold, theoretically, if something was to get bumped or if there was to somehow get a hole in the inside of it, there's a slight potential of something happening on the inside of this, because of the wood. But if it's all gold, right? It's all pure gold, is you don't have that. And so it's interesting if we think about the place where the Most High is, all gold, the place where the origination point of the light, all gold, right? If we think about Yeshua, who of course is the light, right? And he says to us that we are the lights of the world, but we're only the lights of the world because of the light that we have from him, right? And so it's interesting when we think about kind of these connections. We look at the menorah, and it can show for us, Messiah, who is this pure gold, right? And again, this, when I think about this menorah, like the actual, I'm saying the actual, but this is what people, potentially think that the menorah looks like. Not the actual, but when I look at those, I think that whenever they have this menorah here that has like that base, that has this base on it, I think that looks like the one they made for, what's the name in those, Solomon's one. Because they had a big old giant one, Solomon's one.
Solomon?
Yeah, the temple. They had a big old huge one that had to be like kept carted around. But like when I look at this, it seems like you could have just said that easier than what that is. Like when the cups and the bowls, you know what I mean? I don't think it looked like this. To me, I
You think it's more fancy than that?
I think it got to be more fancy than that. Because when it started getting into the cups and the bowls and the almonds and all of that and the leaves, there's leaves, right? Isn't there leaves?
I think isn't there about that, he didn't even do it, but then his own mental, he didn't make these things his own mental capacity. It was like, kind of prophetic type of
I
stuff.
think that, they didn't get to making it yet. This is just saying what it is. But when you talk about that, some of the commentators do talk about the fact that maybe he was like in a trance and just kind of like how Aaron talks about, I had this goal and the next thing a golden calf came out. That's how.
That he was the first one that got the spirit,
Yeah. Yeah. And when you look at this here, look. Let's see. Read 32 and 33.
32 and 33, and there shall be 6 branches going out on the sides thereof. 3 branches of the candlestick out on one side thereof, and 3 branches out of the candlestick out of the other side. 3 cups made like almond blossoms in one branch, a knot and a flower. And 3 cups made like almond blossom in the other branch, a knot and a flower. So for the 6 branches going out.
Yeah, so there's these cups, and they're like an almond blossom, and there's 3 cups on one branch, and a knot, and a flower. What's a knot? Circle. Is it? Where you getting that from? Upper lintel disc button wreath. I'm just saying this is just really elaborate. That's all I'm saying. I don't like the picture. It can't be this. It got to be something else. It got to be way fancier than that. They got to be way fancier than that. Okay, so let's see here. So in 25:31, what we just looked at, to the bottom. So by the end of chapter 25, it goes through the whole candlestick, and it ends off kind of the way it started in verse 40, where it says to see that thou make them after their pattern, which is being shown thee in the mount. So when Moses is in the mountain speaking to the Most High, he's getting all of the instructions to go down and build this tabernacle. So when we look at this here, it's like we get all the things, like this is Moses getting all of the instructions from the Most High. He's going to go down, and then he's going to have to give all the instructions to the people so that they could go ahead and make it. But this here is just Moses getting it, and then he's got to do something with all the things that he has received. And so I think later, probably y'all willing on Shabbat, we'll talk a little bit more about the coverings of the tabernacle, and we'll go into some more things briefly with that. But I don't want to go too much longer here for our midweek look. We just want to look at the Torah, look at kind of things that kind of seem interesting, take deeper looks into certain situations. Maybe as we go on, maybe I'll be able to start on time on next week. We could do some more, advertising, so that we get some participation, more participation than we already have. We had participation here. Yeah, so we'll go from there. We see, we're able to, we have people viewing both on YouTube and Facebook. Interesting. This is our first time doing that dual things. See how that works. All right, so for the people that are here, hopefully you're able to share these videos. Tell people that we're going to be studying the Torah on Wednesdays, promptly at 7 o'clock, and talking about some of the things more in depth than what we have been doing recently on Shabbat for the Torah. So next week we'll be back looking at the more of the next Torah portion. Until then, we'll say shalom, shalom. Enjoy the rest of your week, and y'all willing, you'll see me on Shabbat.